You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I'm Ashley Winch in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I'm Kat Gunther from White Lake, Michigan.
You're listening to the Quarter Horse Podcast, where we explore the versatility of the world's most popular breed of horse, the American Quarter Horse.
Coming up on today's show, we have an incredible 360-degree view of the AQHA EWD program. We're being joined by an EWD program manager, handler, and competitor. Kat, tell us more about the AQHA EWD program. I'm familiar with PATH International, but not really EWD.
Yeah, so EWD stands for Equestrians with Disabilities, and a lot of PATH riders also participate. So to compete in AQHA-approved Equestrian with Disabilities competitions, 3 forms must be completed: AQHA membership, special diagnosis, and special adaptive equipment.
I see. So EWD is basically like where PATH riders would go to compete within the AQHA world. Okay, yeah. Amazing. Listeners actually don't know this about me, but this is a cause that's very near and dear to my heart. I actually grew up as a teenager volunteering at a handicap riding facility for National Honor Society hours, much like our first guest, Mandy. And that eventually led to me actually getting a job as an assistant trainer at a PATH certified, it used to be called NHRA back in the day. And I was an assistant trainer at a PATH farm working with children and veterans with disabilities. And I had all my hours. I was studying for the test. I was scheduled to go and do the test. It was like a written examination. It was a multi-part test. It was really kind of scary, frankly. And instead, I fell in love and married a military man.
Life changes.
You know, it's a wild ride. But I always was so inspired working at those facilities and seeing the differences that the horses can make in people's lives and the changes in the horses with their riders versus the folks who worked at the barn. It was always really funny. So anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited about today's show. You did such a wonderful job putting it together and finding such incredible people to talk to. Tell us more about what kind of classes are offered at AQHA shows for EWD competitors.
So you have showmanship, like walk-only showmanship, walk-trot showmanship. You have supported walk-trot classes, from everything from English to Western horsemanship. Then you have the independent walk-trot classes, again, ranging from trail to hunter under saddle and everything in between. And then you have the independent walk-trot, short jog, canterlope classes, again, offering the same classes.
That's so cool. So really at the show, if I'm there to watch, I wouldn't necessarily know unless, there's the handlers, sidewalkers, but it would just be a class of competitors and their horses.
Yeah, I always watch the EWD classes when I was showing at Congress because it's just, we're all just equestrians at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of it, that draws so many people to watch.
I think you're 100% spot on. That's exactly what it is, that we're all just people trying to enjoy the rewards of our hard work, determination, and perseverance. And when we're on our horses, we're all the same, right? We have 4 legs and another set of ears and a different brain.
Exactly.
And that's just so cool.
Yeah, you're going to hear Mandy talk about this with her program, but she had an exhibitor who was wheelchair bound. And she's like, I can't walk at my day-to-day life, but I get on a horse and I got 4 legs. And I feel like I can just do whatever. And that just really stuck with me. So stick around and hear that story.
Let's hear more from Program Director Mandy Cleveland now.
Today we are going to be chatting about what it's like to run therapeutic riding programs with quarter horses. So let's welcome Mandy.
Hi, thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. I'm really excited to talk about Stable Strides Farm. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How'd you get involved? What does it look like day to day?
Yeah, awesome. So when I was in high school, I needed volunteer hours for National Honor Society. I always throw that clause in there because I don't want people to think I was doing jail time or anything. But so I needed community service hours, and I rode horses competitively. I did the hunter jumper circuit. And so I thought, well, will be fun. I'll be with horses and I'll be with people and I'll get to be outside. And so this sounds like a great way to make all the things that I like come together. And I just loved it. I fell in love with it. And, in high school, you're like trying to look for the trajectory of your life. Are you going to college? Are you, going to be a lawyer? What's grown-up life going to look like? And I really enjoyed it. And then I got a packet from St. Andrews University, which is in North Carolina. And they talked about that they had a therapeutic riding degree plan. And I'm old. So at the time, that was the only therapeutic riding degree plan that was available. And so I told my folks about it. And they're like, oh, Mandy, you're going to need a real job. This horse thing's probably not going to pan out. But they were at least willing to go investigate it with me. So we went and visited the school, and it seemed like a really good fit. And they also would help me be able to have a backup plan of a teaching degree. So I went to St. Andrews for 2 years and then transferred to Texas Women's, graduated with a special ed degree, and then also had my teaching certificate for therapeutic riding through PATH. So
that's amazing. Congratulations on all that.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun. And, when I was teaching school, is very time consuming. So it was really nice because I was able to kind of decrease my school time hours and increase my horse time hours, and then be able to get the business off the ground. And when I first started teaching, it was through where I had been volunteering, and I had a couple of riders that loved a horse show. And so I would take them to the horse shows. And again, I'm old, so there weren't a whole lot of like EWD shows. So we'd go to like little 4-H shows or little, backyard shows. And I never told the judges my riders had any differences because I wanted them on a level playing field. And then I noticed they were on a level playing field. It was different than school or, PE or the soccer team at the YMCA. Like with the right horse, you can do anything you want to do. And it was really neat. One of my riders rolled her wheelchair up on the mounting ramp and transferred from her chair to the horse. And she said, Mandy, when I'm sitting in that chair, I have 2 bad legs, but when I get on this horse, I have 4 good ones. And then
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah. And that was probably, I don't know, it could have been 30 years ago when she told me that, but it was just such an aha moment of, wow, yeah, with the right horse, really, you can do anything. And then she just rode away from her wheelchair. And I thought, this is it. This is the thing we need to be doing. So through all those years, like when I first started, we begged, borrowed, and stole any horse we could possibly get our hands on. I didn't really have a whole lot of connections yet. And so anything that was quiet, would not eat small children was automatically
it's kind of required to not eat the children.
Yes, exactly. Was brought into the program. And I grew up, riding thoroughbreds because I was doing the hunters, and they were a little hot and a little challenging to teach off of. And then we started getting some quarter horses donated, and they have just the best temperament. Like they're athletic enough to do what they needed to do, but cool tempered enough that they would put up with the mistakes that the riders were making, and stocky enough that like riders with poor balance could still stay pretty centered because they weren't that real narrow that you felt like Humpty Dumpty up there. We all know how that ended. So they were the perfect match. So.
Oh yeah. No, their temperaments are great. So do you think that's what makes them the best for EWD and EWD classes?
I think so. I just love the way that they don't overreact when something different is presented, that they kind of like look, observe, and absorb, and then you're able to go on from that. So like I have a rider that does the showmanship from a power chair, and she has very little mobility. She just uses her fingertips to move a little tiny joystick. And she has a robotic arm that comes off the wheelchair and holds the lead shank. And so she can do the showmanship patterns. And at first I was like, oh, how is this going to go over? But really, all the quarter horses that I brought to her to try it with kind of looked at her, double checked that there weren't any cookies hiding in the chair. I was like, please do not put cookies in your chair because we are not going to be able to break that habit. And they just took to it like, okay, well, this is what I do now. I do showmanship from a power chair. And she could use her robotic arm to brush the horses and curry. And like my thoroughbreds would have probably jumped out the window and, run to the next state. They just would not have sat still enough to let it process.
Yeah.
But the quarter horses were like, well, that's interesting. All right. Well, are there carrots involved? There are? Okay, I'm all in.
Food bribery.
Exactly.
So how do you train a horse or know that they're going to be trainable enough to break with somebody who's disabled?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as we've been doing it longer, I've gotten to meet some really incredible trainers. So Chad and Shane Christensen's were the first ones that took a chance on us and offered us our first nice horse. And I will forever be grateful because I feel like that was a huge turning point in our program. And once we started having nice horses, we could go to nicer horse shows. And once we were at nicer horse shows, we made more friends that wanted to give us nicer horses. So the horses that are quiet and pleasant and know their job, just like they'd be great for a select rider or a small fry, they usually will transfer into the therapeutic riding pretty easily.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they tend to have slower gaits, and be a little bit smoother, a little slower to react. And that makes a big difference for us. There are pieces of our program that's different than a select rider or a small fry. Like some of the riders have 2 sidewalkers. So you have a person leading the horse and 2 people on either side. And horses that are claustrophobic don't like that feeling. Mm-hmm. But again, the quarter horses are pretty mellow. And so they will be able to kind of be a willing partner to learn the new tricks. And then our physical therapist that's on staff, Suzanne, does a lot with beanie bag APs and rings and throwing dice because it makes it more fun and you're doing gross and fine motor skills. Mm-hmm. So that we introduce slowly before the riders. But once we've done that enough that then it's approved to be able to do with the riders. And the horses have really taken to that quickly as well.
This is all just amazing. I love hearing about this because like I told you before we started, I used to show quarter horses and I would see the EWD classes, but I never really knew how the programs work. So maybe could you touch on how the classes are usually run?
Yes. So it kind of feels like a regular lesson program, only there's a little bit more scaffolding. So there's volunteers that are there that will kind of help with saddling horses and unsaddling horses. And then some of the riders need a little help through mounting and dismounting. Like the woman that I was talking about that switched from her chair, once she was on the horse, she really didn't need a leader or a sidewalker. She could ride by herself. But that whole mounting was a little precarious because she had to, ride her wheelchair up to the top of the ramp and then put the brakes on the chair and then transfer to the horse. And so that took, 3 people, somebody to catch her on the other side, somebody to hold the horse, somebody to help her get over. So it is a little bit more scaffolding in the therapeutic riding program with the volunteering part. Some riders do need to be led, like I said, or have sidewalkers. But one thing that kind of makes our program unique is we try to train the riders as they become more independent to volunteer back into the program. And so I think that's a really neat gift. The riders already know the horses. They have respect for the coaches. They know, how every horse person's a little quirky and we have how we like things are done.
Oh, yeah.
So they're already aware of all the quirks. And then when they come back to volunteer into the program, I think it's really important to give back. I mean, there's so much value in that and thinking beyond yourself. And so that part's a little bit different than a typical lesson program. Most of the time, at least in our program, the challenged riders don't own their own horses. So it's all school horses. Whereas in a typical quarter horse program, probably everybody owns their horse or their mom owns it or something, since that's one of those rules. But thankfully, the breed associations don't require the challenged riders to own their own horses or even have a lease on file. They can ride anything. So
really,
that's really free.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many horses do you have in your program?
We have about 20 horses in the program right now. And I would say probably half are paint or half are quarters. And then we have about a quarter are paints and a quarter are apps. So they're all pretty much, and we have one very fat pony, very fat, like a
I
roly
love
poly.
fat ponies. I love fat ponies. Is he sassy?
He's medium sassy, and he has but he is fat. Like I think I could probably roll him into the arena as well as walk him into the arena. But he's adorable.
I love that. I love that. My dip spanner is very fat, so I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Wow, that is just wonderful. So how many riders do you have in your program that participate with like quarter horse showing? And
we probably have about maybe 30 that show on a regular basis. We have a horse show in January that's in Fort Worth, so 45 minutes from our program. And we typically take over 40 riders to that horse show. And the riders can share horses, and the show's over 3 days. So the first day is quarter horse day, which is fantastic. And we usually have probably about 20 to 22 that show on quarter horse day, and then the remaining show the following 2 days. So that's probably our biggest show because it's so close. And then we have some that are further away. Like we get to go to the Congress now that they added our classes. And we love that. But that being so far away, typically I only have one trailer go. So maybe 6 riders would go to the Congress.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I've seen most of the EWD classes from my experience. Because Congress, they get big numbers there for it.
They really do.
Yeah.
And NSBA does the same thing. Like it's nothing to have 35 people in your EWD class at the NSBA. And they're amazing. I mean, like they are truly amazing, accomplished equestrians. So it's a lot different than, 30 years ago. And it's really fun to have watched this part of the industry grow. Like we always talk about, if you're not growing and you're stagnant, that's stinky. We say stinky because that's funny.
It is stinky. You gotta grow.
It is stinky.
You gotta grow to not be stinky.
Exactly. So, and stagnant ponds are so stinky. So that's silly. Yep. But yeah, so it's amazing to be able to watch not only the numbers grow, but the quality is following right along with it. I mean, they are some truly talented equestrians. So,
I love it. I love all of this. And the last question I have for you is tell us your favorite story of an impactful moment during your program or at a horse show. Just one moment you're like, that really stuck with you.
Well, I told you that story about Lynn, and that was amazing to me. That was a true aha moment because I thought, wow, wherever our weak spot is, they can compensate and make us whole. And I always felt like my horses made me whole, because it's hard growing up and being a teenager and all those things, and you just, when you were unified with your horse, it was like you could do anything. So that was huge. And then there was one time this young lady that I was teaching, she was just hugging on her horse. And of course, I'm in my mind going, all right, it's 11:07. I got to get the people on. Where's that bridle? And, like kind of as we do as a worker, being like, all right, this is how this needs to be handled. And this is what I need to do. And oh my gosh, I need to triple check that girth and, just stuck in the weeds. And I looked over and she was just hugging on this horse. And I said, what are you doing? And she was like, just living my best life.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. It just was like a sucker punch to my heart. I was like, yes, this is the best life. We just need to, sometimes you just got to hug your pony and live your best life. So
I'm going to carry on with that today. That's going to be my motto for the rest of the week. I'm just living my best life.
Just living my best life.
I'm inspired.
Awesome. Okay. So anyway, that really stuck in my heart to just keep it all in perspective. If you got to hug a horse today, it was a pretty good day. So.
Yeah, you're lucky. Very lucky.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well, thank you so much for talking to us, Mandy. We really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Joining us now is handler extraordinaire Sutherlyn Hollabaugh, who works with her brother Tanner in training/competing in the EWD classes. So Sutherlyn, what's your experience as a handler in these classes?
Oh gosh, we actually started way back in 4-H, so many, many moons ago. He's going to be 29 and I'm 26 now. So I think I was able to start leading him when I was 14. So we did the 4-H thing, we did the open show thing, and then back in, I believe it was 2015 is when the Congress added the EWD classes to the show bill. And I was like, we're doing that. And that's pretty much it. We've been doing it almost ever since. After right around 2020, we slowed down a bit. He had some health issues and sort of all that other stuff. So we've taken a break, but we're still here.
Now, when you say he, I want you to explain to our listeners who the fabulous person is that you are going through this journey with.
Yes. So it is my older brother, Tanner. I feel like every quarter horse show or any show we go to, everybody knows who he is. Like,
I've heard his name before. I've heard his name because I would watch the EWD classes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Tanner. Like he's, you get to a show and it's like, oh, you're supposed to know me, not that one. But whatever, he can live in the limelight all day long. He's awesome. He has Down syndrome and he lives with us at home still. He works every day. He is like one of the best people I know. I love him dearly.
Oh, that's wonderful. And what impact have you seen competing in these classes have on him, both like inside and outside the arena?
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, he's already got the personality of like many, many men.
I love it.
He's the life of the party. He's everything. But to him, like, for us competing, it's, like me, especially, I'm super over the top competitive. So it's like, I just want to go. I want to win. I want to do well. Like we have XYZ goals to meet. But for him, the dude just wants to hear his name called. That is it. Like he doesn't care about anything else. As soon as he hears Tanner, he gets so excited. There's so many pictures, his hands in air, and we could be getting like 15. And he's like, yeah. Where I'm like, oh my God, we sucked. But yeah, it makes, this experience for him anyway has taken him from like already a really positive individual to just over the moon. Like it gives him, another thing to do. Like he's involved with the Special Olympics, but it gives him something that like him and I get to do together.
Sure.
Which I think we have a pretty atypical brother and sister relationship, but it's just something we've done it together since the get-go. And I think he likes it. I could be very wrong, but yeah, him, like I said, him and a lot of the other individuals we compete with and show with, they're all just so much happier. Like it gives them, just something that is theirs, that they might not get other places.
I love that. I love it. The happiness is contagious. Like I can feel it.
It so
just talking about it makes me smile.
Yeah, and it's like it's just another. Like I don't even know how. It's just such a great community to be in because, in the amateur classes and stuff, it's like okay, we have our friends, but we're still competing against them, and it's like I just I didn't beat so and so today, or like yeah, I beat so and so, and for them, they don't care. Like they're happy to be there. They're happy to be participating. It's just such a different perspective on it. Even if I'm maybe not that person, but they definitely are. I'm like, okay, now you have to, sometimes you have to remind yourself, but I love it. It's such a great program.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then do you use your horse for the classes with him or how does that work?
We had 2 horses that we started with. We had my Palomino. He was actually ranch bred. Now what would be ranch bred, ranch reining, whatever you want to call it. And so we started off with him and then we moved to my first quarter horse show horse, intoxicating version. And we used him for a couple years till we retired him. Then I moved on to a hunt seat horse. So we didn't, once we get past a certain height, Tanner gets very uncomfortable. So we actually used a friend of ours' horse for a couple years. He was great. And then we had a smaller hunt seat mare, my mom's, that we used, but she just wasn't quite comfortable for him. Like she just had, that huge stride and he didn't like it. But now, yeah, we have our own horse, Max, KM, simply the best. We're actually like leasing to own him from Elizabeth Will. She's fantastic. And he is one of the best personalities for this program. Like he just loves him. But
did you have to do any special like training when you decided to start doing this with your show horse to get him to the point where he was like comfortable? And
yes and no. So Max is like I said, he is the best. And it definitely, the temperament of all of them is very particular. So it wasn't the temperament and the handling of Tanner aspect. It was the like kind of getting him. He's not really the best showmanship horse. Like I said, his old owner didn't really do it. I don't really do it anymore. So he's not great. He's not terrible by any means, but he's just, kind of heavy in the hand whenever I'm leading him. So trying to keep his pace and my pace the same has been tricky. But a really big one is he never did the trail before we got him.
Oh, wow.
And that is Tanner, because obviously he's a supported rider. So we only do the horse or the Western Pleasure and the trail. And the trail was something very important to him. We've been reserving it. We've been top 3 in it. So I'm just very passionate about it. It's one of my favorite classes. And I said, this horse has to do trail. So for about the first 6 months, almost a year, Missy Shetler, my trainer, and I, we just took him over the poles by hand because he can be kind of rough around the poles, and Tanner, depending on the horse, can affect his seat. So, just a lot of that groundwork is really the best foundation for it, because it's not like lead line where you can use a chain either. So they have to come off of, just a regular old clip lead shank. So that's even trickier to me in my mind anyway. It could be easy for everybody else.
Makes sense. And I'm curious, was there a moment for you ever as the handler, just that, like an impactful moment that just really stuck with you?
I feel like I have those a lot. And it's usually at the Congress. Like I flashback, this like horse showing was supposed to be my thing. Having a sibling with a disability, it can take all of the maybe parental attention away from you, which is fine. Like growing, we did what we had to do, and I just, whatever, I'm the youngest anyway, so it didn't really matter. So horse showing was kind of my parents' way of saying, hey, here's your thing to do. And while still having Tanner around, like he would come, and then I was like, no, this shouldn't just be for me. So anyway, we would go, the first year we went to the Congress, they have a luncheon every year, and they have all the EWD exhibitors and handlers and trainers and everybody who wants to come for this luncheon. And it was just, I think, sitting in that room for the first time with everybody around that was like, okay, we're all here. We're all doing the same thing. Like we all want to give these individuals some, like this is their world show. This is their, big shining moment. And I think the NSBA program really does phenomenal job with highlighting it, especially at the Congress. We haven't had a chance to go to the World Show yet, so I'm not sure how well I assume that they do it over the top there. But I think it's just, especially the luncheon moments at the Congress, that it's like, okay, yep, we're doing this.
Yeah, it makes it really real for everyone at that point, I'd imagine. What would you say to someone who is interested in getting their loved one involved in EWD, in that program specifically, or just with horses? Do you have any advice you'd give them, or an anecdote perhaps?
I don't even, like, I'd like to say just do it, which is easier said than done. Because, like, I think, like, we've been involved with the horse industry since I was about 8, I think. So I don't, like, and it was just, here's a gift certificate for riding lessons.
Slippery slope.
That's
the entry ticket. That's the entry drug. Yes. You just get hooked.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a face. No. Never just a face. But I mean, for us, it was a little bit easier because we were already in it and doing it and everything. I would say, like, just, ask around at, come to a show and watch, kind of sporadic. Like some shows will have it, if we go to a week-long circuit, they'll have it every other day or whatever. And some shows have it once, some don't have it at all. So, you could even, I know in Pennsylvania, we have a few really nice programs, like therapeutic riding programs that are kind of like that kick in the door. We have one up in Erie, PA. We have a really good one down in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, called Storm Harbor Equestrian Center, and they really focus on, the therapeutic riding program and stuff. So just kind of, checking out different facilities, different, asking all the questions, doing all the things. Like, kind of, like you said, it's a slippery slope. So once you get that foot in there, you're probably going to be hooked in it.
Careful what you ask for, maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sutherlyn. We have one more question that we ask everybody at the end,
All
and
right.
that's tell us about your favorite quarter horse and what makes them so special to you.
Oh, gosh. Do I have to list
That's
just hard? Oh.
Okay, I guess you're allowed to list two.
Okay,
One
I
for
can do two.
yourself and
They're
one
just
for
too special.
Tanner.
Okay.
That's
one for
the
Tanner. Yes. Okay, one for Tanner would probably be our first like AQHA show horse. His name's Intoxicating Version. We still have him. He's out and can see him out in the pasture right now. He is, I think he's 19 now. So at the time we were showing him, he was between 10 and 15. He could be the biggest butthead on the face of the planet to me or anybody else showing him. Like, he could just, say, you're done and you're done for the day. But as soon as Tanner got on, he's a completely different horse.
I had mentioned that at the top of the show. I volunteered a lot at PATH facilities, and I experienced the same thing. These horses would be complete assholes to the handlers and sidewalkers, and then their rider gets on, and it's a completely different animal.
Yes.
It was incredible to watch.
He would just be like, I mean, him and I got along well until we didn't. And, it's like, well, all right, screw you too, bud. But as soon as Tanner got on, he's like, oh, I love the world. Everything is sunshine and rainbows. And it's like, that's not what we talked about when I was just on you. But yeah, he really was he was in 2015. He was the first horse we got reserve champion with in the EWD Pleasure at Congress, and we were third in the trail that year, I think. And so that, I think, because I have I shouldn't say shockingly, I have never placed at Congress for myself. I've never even been a finalist. Something usually always happens, like it does at all the big shows. Something happens and I can't get a call back to save my flippin' life. But, I think he's placed every single year, and that horse getting us in the door in that aspect has been, he'll always have a special place in my heart. And maybe not as much Tanner's, but maybe. But for me, I have to pick one. It would be our current show horse, Max, or Maxwell, as I affectionately refer to him. He has the same docile personality, like very, but that's with everybody. Like you can throw Joe Schmell on him from the street and he's going to be the same horse every single time. And he's very, very honest. Like, if you don't know how to ride, he's going to say, okay, we're just going to walk in the circle. And that circle might be about this big. He's very honest, very just a big sweetheart. So he's probably my favorite. Just,
It's okay. We won't tell the other horses. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's our secret. It's fine.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Sutherlyn. It was great talking to you. And before we get to our next interview with Saige and Sandra Morgan, a quick word from our Equine Network sponsor, My New Horse.
For first-time horse owners and new riders, finding the information and support you need can be challenging. That's why Equine Network has partnered with Sentinel and Absorbine to bring you My New Horse. From important horsekeeping information and how-to videos to social media communities, exclusive experiences, and more, My New Horse is your one-stop shop for riders of all levels and disciplines looking for easy-to-understand horse care information and guidance. Start your horse ownership journey today. Visit mynewhorse.com.
Hi, everyone. I'm here with Saige Morgan, an avid exhibitor in the EWD classes. She is here to tell us about her equestrian experience, and I'm so excited to hear all about it. Thank you for joining us, Saige.
Hi.
So, Saige, what is your favorite horse show and why?
I like Wild Trot, Western Pleasure, and English Pleasure.
That's your favorite class, but can you think of what horse show you like to go to the best?
Who Halios?
The one in Ohio?
Yeah.
What is that one in Ohio?
For sure.
What is it called?
Concert.
She calls it the concert, but it's the
concert.
Congress. Yeah, she likes the Congress.
I do too. It's one of my favorite horse shows as well. So tell me about your horse.
It's named Andy. And like, he is 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And trainer, right? Trainer is Robin B. Rock. She trained here in my house many times. And I work hard so bad. I work hard, make money.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So do you get a ride a lot?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes take a break.
So when did you start horse showing?
13, a long time.
Long time. She can't remember back that far. Probably
A baby.
I think you started riding when you were a baby. But I think probably 7, 8, and 9 was probably when she started.
7, 8, 9. Okay, it's about the same as me. And how old are you now, Saige?
23.
23. I'm also turning 23 this month.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, a long time. Long time of riding horses. Do you have a favorite quarter horse that you've ever ridden?
Probably Smokey.
Smokey is
Smokey.
Smokey was her horse that passed away last year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
he's a nice boy. He's like, nothing to do. He's running the barn. He said, oh, let's go.
You know, one of the reasons why we have quarter horses and we keep them at home is expressly for the EWD classes and being able to compete at her level. When she was a younger kiddo, we showed 4-H, and sometimes we still do that. And that's such a great outlet. But to show above that level requires special classes. And that's honestly how we got into quarter horses.
Really? So that was your entrance into like showing quarter horse?
Yes.
These EWD classes. Okay. That's very good.
Quarter horse, right?
Yeah. And she's saying right now we have 3 quarter horses.
Okay.
But they are very special. Each one of them, you know, we have to pick them a lot on personality too, as well as their ability to, you know, do well in a show ring. But to have them at home and to be handling them on a daily basis, it requires A+ personality for sure.
Oh, for sure. And Sandra, that's a question I have for you. When you're looking to buy a horse, like from a buyer's perspective, so you're looking for their personality more than anything, right? Just their calm demeanor.
Yeah. You know, I think that is such a good question, because when our last horse passed away, we had a hard time finding one that would fit the bill. And it actually had a couple run-ins with horses that we absolutely knew didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes with the horses, you can have one that's impeccably trained, but gets frustrated if the cues are different each time, or if it wasn't the way they learned. They can get really upset about it, you know? And so we had that happen before. We've also had a personality that just in the stall wasn't what we could have at home, as far as just being aggressive. And so we had to look at a balance between a horse that was well trained, well put together, and would do well in the show ring, but would also translate to being easy to handle at home and easy to work with.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because I've met a lot of horses that may be great under saddle, but then in the stall or in the cross ties, their personalities are not such that you could be like comfortable with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that my daughter likes to do is she'll even at a show take a chair and go in the stall and read or sit there, you know? And she's laughing, but she does that.
Don't worry, Saige. I did the same thing at horse shows. I'd put my chair right at the stall door and take a nap.
And so she likes a horse she can hang out with, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a special one right there.
Oh, for
yeah. Other horse named Smokey's really calm down.
Yeah, he's very calm when we take him to shows. So we have a new horse that we bought last September. and his name is Indy.
Don't call it Indiana Jones. He was in that movie.
Not like Indiana Jones, she says. But he's a sweet.
He's a sweet boy. He's kind of like his smile face is like stick your tongue out with his noise. Like, he's a sweet boy. He liked me a lot. He looked at me. He said, let's go to the Horse 4-H club.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So he's a little bit on the younger side for her.
Yeah.
And so I think he's going to have some maturity as he gets used to her too. And he's got a little frustration sometimes when he doesn't understand what she's asking, because sometimes with an EWD rider, it's really hard for them to be consistent every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is going to be a great team as they mature together.
Oh, that is very exciting. Congratulations. I wish you the best of luck. Well,
thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Kat, again, thank you so much for putting together so many incredible guests. I'm so inspired, and I'm sure our listeners will be as well. Do you have a favorite part of today's show?
Oh, it's hard to pick because everybody was so cool to talk to. I think it's just seeing all the different perspectives of a program that I was familiar with but didn't know that much about. And I just feel inspired, honestly, because it's just a beautiful thing. Just the love of the horse, it runs so deep.
And it makes us all the same, I think, on a really deep cellular level. And it's so darn beautiful. Thank you, Kat.
It's so beautiful. Thanks so much for tuning into the Quarter Horse podcast on Horses in the Morning. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about the world's favorite breed of horse.